Welcome, my name is Omolade Adeyemi. I remain your fashion teacher, the CEO of Lariche Design. Today's training is going to be how to cut and sew the straight long skirt I'm putting on. So this is the front part. This is the back view of the straight long skirt. As you can see, this is the bum part, which is the bum contouring. So I'm going to teach you the step-by-step of how you're going to achieve this. The first thing you're going to do, take your measurement. You're going to learn how to drop the pattern, cut out the pattern, cut the pattern on your fabric, then sew it on your machine. Cut out the lining, before sewing it. And our trainings are scheduled for Monday and Tuesday, which our flashback is going to fall on Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Friday. While Saturday and Sunday is going to be a live chat conversation. If you're new to this channel, you need to subscribe to this channel, like this channel, and very important, you need to ask your question. We would like you to drop your observation, ask your questions, extend your love to us by liking and sharing this video. Hello, welcome. My name is Omolade Adeyemi. So today's teaching is going to be how to sew our straight long skirt. So before we start sewing, you need to remove your pins, which I've already done. I've removed my pins, so I need to notch where my dart will fall. So you place your pattern back to your fabric and trace out the lines. Those 3 lines, you trace the 3 lines out like this. You trace out those 3 lines. After tracing it out, this is what we call notching. You fold the 2 fabrics together, which is the lining and the Ankara. So you notch it like this. Notching the darts, I've notched it on the 2 fabrics, which is the Ankara and the linings. So after that, the next thing is I'll measure the length of the dart, including this ½ inch. You know, we added ½ inch to the upper part to pick our skirt band. So you add the ½ inch to the length, and you measure like this. So you measure it this way to the point where you have this line, where your dart gets to. So what we have here is 10.4. So let me know. I think we have. What we have here is 10.5. So I'm going to go to the machine now and sew the length of my dart by 10.5. So this is the back piece of our straight skirts. The back piece of our straight skirts. So we have 2 pieces at the back. So this is it. This is the back piece. So what I'm going to do now is to pick the darts. So I'm going to pick the darts. So these are the 3 points I notched. So 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to hold the 3 points together like this. Like this. So I'm going to hold the 3 points together like this. So excuse me, I need a choice. So then I measure the length of my dart, which is 10.5. I'm going to measure the length like this. After folding the 2 pieces together, after folding the fabrics together like this. So then I measure the length of the dart, which is 10.5. I measure 10.5 and mark it here. So let me show you the drawing. I'll show you the way that looks like. So it's going to be like this. That is going to be like this. It's going to come all the way. It's a slant shape, so that is not a straight line. So it's a slant, it's no slant, so it's not a straight line like that. Not a straight line at all. So I will start from here, then end my sewing here. So let's get to work. The first stitches is I will lock my first stitches and I continue. Continue sewing until I get here and I come out a little. So after coming out at that point, I cut my thread like this. So sorry, I need to knit this part. So look at the way it is. Look at the outcome. Look at it. So then I'll put this aside and pick the other parts. Pick the other piece, the other back piece. Then we have two pieces at the back. So I'm trying to make this my SK knits. Trying to knit in this part. So the next one is this. I'm going to hold these 3 points together. This is 1, this is 2, and this is 3. So I'm going to hold the 3 points together like this. I'll bring it to the machine again. So the next thing is to measure the length of my dart, which is 10.5. Which is 10.5. So I got it. Look at the outcome. Look at the outcome also. So I'll repeat the same thing on my lining. So I'll do the same thing on the lining too. So I've notched the 3 parts, notched the 3 lines. So the next thing is to pick the dots. I'm picking this one like this. I'm picking this one like this. Maybe it's facing each other. So the next one I'll pick it like this. So it has to face each other like this. The outcome of the sewing, at the end of the sewing, it has to be like this. You sew one like this, you sew the other like this. So let's keep working. And the same thing applies to the fabric also. You sew it the way I just explained. So, my stitch at the beginning. So I will also measure the length of my darts, which is 10.5. So I want to pick the other parts of the lining, so to pick the darts also. So I'm going to pick this one like this. So pick this way. So I'm picking the other one like this. We have to do it the same way we've been sewing. Place the machine here, then sew the stitches at the beginning. And measure the length of your darts, which is 10 and a half. So the length of my own dart here is 10 and a half. So the next thing is to sew. So this is the outcome after picking the dart. This is how it looks like. So this is the result of my darts. So this is it. So this is the second part. This is the second side also. Look at it from behind. Look at the darts. So look at it. This is it. So it's going to face each other. So it has to face each other like this. This is the way I pick it. This is the outer part of the dart. This is also the outer part of the dart. So it has to face each other like this. And so as the same goes to the lining also. Look at the lining. This is it. After picking the darts. So the same thing goes to this also. It has to face each other like this. Look at the other side. So it's facing each other like this. That is when you look at this side. So after that, the next thing is to pick the down parts of our fabric and the lining together. So this is one side of the lining. I'm going to pick one of the lining that is facing, that when I place on the fabric, it will face each other. So this one is not, doesn't work. So let me pick the other one. So, because I want to pick it like this. It has to be like this. The lining facing each other, and as in the lining and the fabric, which is the Ankara, they are facing each other like this. So the next thing I'm going to do is to sew this part down, the down part, this down part of the skirt. I'm going to sew it down by ½ inch. I'm going to sew ½ inch down, holding the Ankara and the lining together. I'm going to sew ½ inch all through, and the same thing goes to the other side. So let's go and do that and I'll show you. So the next thing, like I explained on the table, we're going to sew this down part down by ½ inch. We're going to sew it down by ½ inch. So now you take the tape roll and measure ½ inch. So you measure ½ inch like this. Of course, I can sew the ½ inch without taking the measurement, but you need to understand what I mean. So now you can sew. So you take it to the machine and sew ½ inch. You lock your stitch. When you're sewing at the beginning of every stitch, you make sure you lock up the stitch. So you continue. So when you get to the end of this also, you lock up the stitch. It means the stitch will not be able to lose. That's the essence of me locking it. You cut your thread. You pick one of the back piece. So this is the other one. So I've placed the lining and the Ankara facing each other like. So I'm going to sew it down by half inch the same way I did the other part. So you pick your tattoo and measure half inch. So you measure half inch from this point to this end. So let's sew. And then you block, like I said, you always block your stitch at the beginning of sewing. Make sure you block every stitch. You cut your thread. So the next thing is to sew the down part of the front fabric, the front Ankara. So this is the front piece. So and I've marked the down part by half inch. So I'm going to sew this part down by half inch. So I've marked it already. So the next thing is to sew. So let's keep sewing. Like I told you, I will lock my stitch at the beginning, then I'll keep. You just need to make sure your hand is straight at every point. If you know your hand is not straight, just take the measurements. Take the measurements and make sure you draw the chalk out very well. Make sure the chalk is very clear so that you can go through that line. So at the end of it, you lock up the stitch also. The next thing is to take it to your table, to your iron table, and iron it out by half inch. You're going to measure half inch out, then iron this part out. You do the same thing to the front piece, and you do the same thing to the back piece. So let's do some activity. So the next thing we are going to do is to hold the two back pieces together. Hold the two pieces together. This is the Ankara facing each other. And we have the lining facing each other also. We have the lining facing each other also like this. So the next thing is to sew it down by 1 inch. When we were adding allowance, we added 1 inch for allowance. So the first thing you're going to do is to take your zip and measure the length of your zip. Here, the length of my zip here, I'll start the measurement from here, starting from where this iron is. So like half inch after this iron. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to measure 7.5 for the length of my zip. So I'm coming here. I'll come here, I'll measure 8 inches instead of 7.5. You know we are going to sew this upper part by half inch. Since we are going to sew this upper part by half inch, so I'm going to measure 7.5. So about 7.5. So I'm using a white chalk. So I'll measure 7.5. I'll measure 7.5. Then I'll take my 1 inch zip allowance. I'll measure my 1 inch zip allowance. Following this, the bomb shape. You're going to follow the bomb shape, the shape that you have on the fabric, the same shape you have on the fabric. Just follow it. Just take your measurement and follow the shape. So the next thing, I'm going to measure the length of my slit. I'm going to measure where my slit will get to. So it's either you measure the length of your slit from here, that is after the half inch. We are going to fold half inch in like this. We are going to fold half inch in. I need to show you that place. I've taken it to my ironing table. Sorry I didn't explain that. I've ironed out half inch like this. I use the Ankara to push it. I push the Ankara up by half inch, so that it will, we chop 1 inch from our lining. So if I did not push the Ankara up by half inch, the lining will not level up with the lining at the band of our skirt. So we need to iron half inch out. So that is what I did here. So this is the outcome of what I did. This is the outcome of what I did. Then I did the same thing on the other side too. This is the outcome. This is the outcome. And I did also, but the same thing I did at the front too. So I ironed the front also out by half inch, exactly half inch. Like this. So now let's continue with what we're talking about. So like I said, I'm going to measure the length of my slit. How long you want the slit to be. It's a long skirt and you need to be careful with the length. So it's either you measure, you come here from this straight line, from this line, you come down by 5 inch because it's a long skirt. Because it's a long skirt and you won't want your long skirt. You won't like when your long skirt is when you're not feeling convenient while walking with your long skirt, since it's a straight long skirt. So I'll come down here by 5 inch. After marking my 5 inch, then I'll measure what I have from this point, from the edge of this Ankara to where this 1 inch. I was marking 1 inch for my zip allowance from the upper parts. Look at it. I was marking 1 inch down, following this shape. When I get to this point, I stop. Then I'll mark the length of my slit. That is from here down. After that, then I'll now measure what I have from here to the 1 inch point. From here to where the 1 inch is. So I think I have 2.1 or thereabout. So I'll measure what I have there. Straight. I'll make it straight. Down to where the 5 inch is. Where the 5 inches is, sorry. And I shape it like this. So I'm going to come down this way. Shape it like this way. So, and before I continue sewing, I'm going to, my sewing has to stop here by half inch. So I'm going to measure from this edge. I'm going to measure half inch out. Half inch in. So my sewing is going to stop at this point. So I'm not going to sew all through the fabric, all through the line. I'm going to stop at this point. So I think we need to sew. I hope you get that. I hope you get the explanation. So let's start sewing. Make sure your fabric is equal. Make sure the upper part is equal. Make sure the edge, you're picking the edge equally. Make sure it's equal. Then you take it to the machine and fixing your needle in. At that point, you started the measurement from. So bring it down. So the next thing is you start sewing. Like I said, you lock your stitch from the beginning, then you continue sewing, following the 1 inch line that I've marked earlier. So you need to follow this part very well because the slits part is a bit complex. So just need to keep it. It's so much. So you follow this shape like this. When you get here, you come straight down. Then return the fabric this way. Put it down and sew. So when you get here, the half-inch point, then you lock it. You stop there and lock it. And you put off the thread. So what I did here, I'm going to do the same thing on the lining. So I'm going to do the same thing on the lining. But before I proceed, I'm going to cut this thread. I'm going to cut off this thread. So let me do the same thing I did here to the lining. So I'm going to do the same thing I did to my Cara to the lining. So what I did is I measured half. I measured 7.5, which is the length of my zip. From this point, I measure 7.5, then I mark it. So I'm going to then, after that, and now start measuring 1 inch, which is our zip allowance. So when you get to this point, I said we're going to measure 5. I measured 5 inch because that is where I want my slits to get. So it depends on the length of the slits you want. You can make it 6 inches, depends on your height. So you can make it 4, you can make it, you can make it 3, depends on what you want. But I want it to be 5. So I'll measure 5 inches to this point. Then I'll continue my measurement. What I have from this end, I'll measure it to where my 1 inch gets to. I think I have 2.1. So I'll take that measurement down to where the 5 inches is. So then I'll make a straight line. Then I'll stop my stitch at the end of this ½ inch. The same thing I did to the fabric. So I'm not going to sew it to the end of the fabric. I'm going to stop here. So let's get to our machine. Lock up the stitch. And continue sewing 1 inch. Come straight down to where the 5 inch is, and I'll turn the lining like this. And I'll keep sewing to this ½ inch point, then I'll lock it and stop. So the next thing I'm going to do is I've turned it to the other side, making the inner part facing each other. So this is the outer part of the lining. This is the outer part of the fabric. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to pick the slit side. This slit side, the opening here. Then bring it down by that ½ inch. I've ironed it out with. So this is it. I'm folding it like this. By that ½ inch. I hope you get it by that ½ inch. Sewing it up by ½ inch. Then I'm going to sew it straight also by ½ inch. I'm going to sew it straight out by ½ inch like this. So from here out, ½ inch. So I'm going to sew it by ½ inch down to this point. So it has to be equal to what we have here. It has to be equal with the slits. This part has to be equal with the one on the Ankara. Look at this, is the lining. Where we stop at the Ankara, at the lining, has to be equal with what we have at the Ankara. So you need to hold it very firm. Then you start sewing. You continue your stitches by ½ inch. So it has to stop at this point. So you look it up at that point. You look it up at that point. So the other side of the slits. This is the other side of the slits. This is the other side of the slit. You're going to bring the other side of the slit out by ½ inch. You're going to bring it out by ½ inch like this. The lining, it has to come out by ½ inch. So this is the way it will look. So that you see. This is it. To bring it out by ½ inch. What I'm saying, I'll fold this part by ½ inch like this. Same way I did the other side. I fold it out by ½ inch. So the Ankara is out by ½ inch like this. Then the lining has to come out by ½ inch. I'm going to push out the lining by ½ inch on this part. At this point, it has to come out by ½ inch. So this will be the outcome. That's going to be the outcome. So this is it. Maybe I should pin it down so that you get what I'm saying. So let me pin it down. So hold on, please hold on. In case you don't know, we have an online fashion institute. We are going to teach you full pattern drafting training. We are going to take you from the scratch, how to use your machine, to the climax. You're going to be the best designers in town. For more information, visit our website on www.larichedesigns.com. So this is how the other part of the slit is going to look like. I've pinned it down. So this is how it's going to look. Bring it out by ½ inch here. So the next thing is I'm going to sew it down by that ½ inch. The ½ inch, where I stop here is where I'm going to sew it from. So let's get to work. I'm sewing it down by ½ inch. So that is it. So I need to remove my place. I remove it so The next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to chop off this ½ inch, then take it to my iron table and iron it out very well. So let me chop it off. So look at the way I'm cutting. I'm going to extend the cutting out like this. So this point. So then I come to the back of that same place that I'm cutting, and I'll chop it off like this. Then I'll take it to my table, the ironing table, and iron the split out. So what I did is I ironed this part out like this. This is the shape. I ironed this part out like this. This is the shape that is going to flap on the other one. So this is the part that is going to flap. So this part is the part I chopped off ½ inch. Is the part we chop off ½ inch from. So that's the part that's going to have the flap. So this is the other side. This is the other side. This is what that iron out. You see the difference. You see the difference. So look at the outer part. That's it outside. So this is it. So this is the part that we chop off ½ inch. So it's overlapping, it's resting on the other part. So this is the side we sew equally, and this is the part we chop off ½ inch from. So it's going to be like this. This is the outcome. So after that, I'm going to hold the two pieces and do a top stitching, a locking, to lock it this way. I'm going to make sure it's folded very well, and you lock it like this. So you lock it this way. You're going to lock where, at that point where you sew it to, at the point where the slit stop, which is this point, so you're going to sew it, is either straight or any kind of shape you want. What I want is a straight line. You just sew it straight to the point where you still feel fabric inside. When you touch it, you still be feeling fabric. So this point is where you stop. So let's get to work. I'll lock the stick from the beginning and keep going and stop here, and I'll lock it at the end. So then I put the thread. So this is it. So this is it. So this is it. Then after that, you can fix the zip. So you fix the zip after that. So let's fix our zip. So the next thing is to fix the zip. So let's measure the allowance for the zip. Like I've said earlier, the allowance for the zip is 1 inch. So let me mark the 1 inch so that you can see. clearly. I'm trying to use a blue marker, a blue chalk. You mark the 1 inch for zip allowance. You do the same thing on the other side. You mark 1 inch for zip allowance. So the next thing is to fix our zip. So now I've marked the 1 inch for the zip allowance. I've marked it on both sides of my lining. So the next thing is to fix our zip. The outcome of our zip is going to be like this. Should be like this. That's to give us this outcome. The outcome has to be like this. This should be the outcome of our zip. It has to give us this look. So for it to give us this look, after I've hold it like this, I'll hold it like this, then I'll open the zip, then I'll make this one face this side, turn it upside down like this. If you've gone through our zip fixing video, you understand what I'm saying. So you now place the tips of the zip on that 1 inch line, then you go into the machine, place your needle at the back of the teeth, then you put it down, so keep sewing. So you just go easy. Before you get to the end of the teeth, you just try and move it up. Move the teeth up so that you'll be able to continue with the zip. Sewing, then you work it at the end of your sewing. So this is the outcome of this side. This is it. This is how it will look like. You make it close. So let's go with the other side. Do the other side this way also. You lock your stitch at the beginning. So you keep going. So just make sure you sew at the back of the teeth. So before you get to the, let me sew a little bit off. Then when you're about to get to the end, you just raise up your needle and bring the zip tip down to continue sewing. So we lock it at the end. So the next thing I will do is I will pick the Ankara and the Ankara facing each other together, the front and back. The front and back piece, this is the back piece, this is the front piece. So I place it on each other from the band down. So I'm going to pin it down. That is what I'm doing. From the band, I'll make sure it's equal at the band here. So I'm going to pin it down all through. So that I will, to enable me see if the length is equal, because I need to know if the length is equal. It has to be equal. The length of the Ankara has to be equal, and the lining also has to be equal. So I will pin it, then continue also on the lining. I'm going to pin the lining down also on that part. So I'm going to pin the two down till it gets the band of the lining also. So what to do, pin it. So now what we are going to do is to pick 1 inch allowance, the one we had when we were cutting out the fabric. So we'll pick 1 inch allowance inside. So let's get started. We measure 1 inch. So for starters, you need to mark it out. So you measure 1 inch like this, and use your chalk to mark it out so that you won't go off the 1 inch, but I can go on 1 inch like this with my tape rule. So if you can go this way, just make sure you did not go off the 1 inch allowance. So we're almost done with this part, with this side. So you lock up your stitch. So I'm removing my pin on this side. After sewing, removing the pin. Then I will continue with the other side. Make sure you don't forget your pins on the fabric so that you won't be affected at the end of the day. So the next thing is to hold this side also. You hold this side of the band. You want to hold this other side of the band. Make sure it's equal. Make sure this side is equal. Then you also sew it down by 1 inch. So let's get to work. So on this part, I'm going to open up my lining by 5 inches. So I'll tell you the essence of that. So you come here to any part, any side of your lining. You just come to any side of the lining. Side, I mean the each side, the joining. So when joining it, when you get to some point, you just measure up 5 inches. You mark 5 inches like this. So I've marked one here. I marked here. I started from here. Then I measure 5 inches. Excuse me, and I mark it out. So you're going to leave that opening. You're not going to sew that part. When you, after the sewing, I will explain the reason why it is like that. So you keep sewing, keep joining by 1 inch. Keep joining by 1. When you get here, you lock up the stitch. Then you remove one, remove one. Remove one, then you come here, you drop it here, continue. So you also lock up this part, then you continue your sewing. So you try and measure 1 inch on this part. Try and measure the 1 inch. Then you lock it up at the end of your stitch. So I'm going to cut the threads now. I'm going to cut the threads. So this is the opening. This is the 5 inches I left. This is the 5 inches. So I'm going to dip in my hand into the opening and bring out my clothes and bring out the Ankara from inside. I need to show you the outcome of what we just did. Don't mind this color, because my elements are laid up for you. So the next thing we are going to do now is to open up our zip here. To open up our zip. To conceal that zip part also, we're going to do it this way. Now this lining is for this part of the body. This lining is for this part of the zip, and this one also is for this part of the zip. I want to make this back of our zip conceal. We want to make it to be like this. It has to be like this, because this stitches, this fabric, this excess will not be showing. We won't allow it to be showing outside, so we need to conceal it in. Because what we do is conceal sewing, so we conceal every of our stitches. So that is what I'm going to do. So watch the way I do it. I'm going to come out like this. You come in like this. Make sure the lining and the Ankara is level up. It's the same thing like this. You need to make sure it's the same thing like this. Like this. So I'm going to turn it to myself so that it will be easy for me to sew. So it's going to be like this, and I'm going to sew the lining and the fabric together like this. Probably if you can try it, you can sew it on the initial line, this zip line, this same thread. You can continue your sewing. You can sew the stitches. You can follow the stitch. You can follow the stitches. You can follow it down. So this is what I'm going to do. This is how you're going to sew it. You're going to hold the two together, the lining and the Ankara together. Then you're going to sew it down this way. You lock up your stitch like I always tell you. You lock it up at this point. Just make sure you sew it to cover up the zip, so do not cut the thread. So look at the outcome on this one. Look at the outcome. This is what we are talking about. So I'm going to do the same thing for this side. I'm going to turn it this way to face it this way. Come inside. So place it on the machine. So if the teeth of the zip is disturbing you, you can try and zip it up. So that it won't disturb your sewing. So you lock it up at this point. So the next thing you want to do is to close the band. Look at the outcome. So it has to be like this. So the next thing is to lock up the band. So how do we do that? So we are locking up the band this way. We're going to come in through the hole, through the ½ inch and 5 inches we left. So we are going to bring the fabric out from there. So then we are going to sew the band by ½ inch. Make sure each stitches are facing each other. The dart here is facing the dart on the lining, make sure it's facing the fabric. The 1 inch joining by the side, make sure it's facing the 1 inch on the Ankara. Make sure every point are facing each other. Sorry, I need to pull this thread. You make sure every 4 points are facing each other. So now let's sew. Like I said, we're going to sew it by ½ inch. So this is ½ inch, I guess. Let me take the measurement. Yeah, I'm right. So I'm going to put my needle there. Then lock up my stitches from the beginning. Then keep sewing. So this dart is facing the other dart. So I'm going to go. So I keep sewing my ½ inch. Make sure you take the measurements. Don't just assume. So after that, the next thing we are going to do is to chop off the excess here on the zip. Please, including the iron, you need to chop it off this way. So on the one on that side and this one, the one on the other side here. Let's chop it off with the iron also. Look at what I'm doing. You need to chop it off with the iron. So, like that. And try and shape it out. So after that, then I'll go through the 5 inches opening I did. The one I left by the side. To turn it out. So you can see I've put my hand into it. So I'm trying to turn it out. As you can see, we are done with our skirts. As you can see, we are done with our skirts. Turn it out properly. Turn it out properly. So, as you can see, this is our skirt. The next thing I'm going to do is just to iron it out and close up that 5 inches part, this 5 inches only. To close it up by what we call hemming gun. If you don't have what we call hemming gun, you just hold it together this way. Hold it together this way and take it to your machine. Take it to the machine and sew it very neat towards the tip of the material. So look at the way I sew. So it's very neat. For the threads. So that's all about our skirts. So I hope you love it. Then take it to your ironing table and iron it out. Iron it out properly. Iron it out properly. Look at the back. Look at the front. This is the front. So you take it to your ironing table and iron it out. Then we try the skirt. Thanks for watching this video. And most importantly, there is going to be giveaways at every point of our achievement. Please be part of this and take advantage of this by watching and be part of those that will be benefiting from this. So most importantly, I would like you to please subscribe to this channel. Keep subscribing and make sure you like this video. Drop your comments, ask your questions. Thank you for watching. Bye.